go live. Beep. My stomach instantly starts hurting. Go away.
Alright, it's live.
I hope the squeakiness of this mouse doesn't put people off the fucking wall. Because I use it a lot.
Hopefully we can send him to donate and help us out.
Well, I'm not saying I'm in crushing debt, but yeah, crushing debt is the right word.
What's our email for Patreon? Is it admin at Threads of Fate?
I believe so, yes.
No, it's barred.
Oh yeah, that's right, because it never got fixed. For reasons I'll
How do
never
you access
understand.
your email on this?
I don't know that I have to put that on.
Okay, well, I have to verify this device. Maybe my phone can do it.
I can do it really quick on this laptop. Yeah. Click the link below. There you go. That should have done it. We probably should mute our phones so that that beeping isn't all up in people's space. Did that work?
It did.
Okay. Can't remember what Lauren's nose looks like. I know it's not though. Oh wow, that's very irksome. We should probably put on our headsets and mute the desktop mic.
But yeah, you should definitely. I just gotta get all the links out.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's very irksome. We should probably put on our headsets and mute the Yeah. My mouse isn't 1,000,000 years old, don't worry about it. Oh wow, that's very irksome. Is it looping?
We'll see.
My mouse isn't 1,000,000 years old, don't worry about it. Is it looping?
Oh, yeah, it is. You need to get your, yeah, it's from hearing this stream. Let me plug it in real quick.
Oh. Yeah. Lol.
Wow, that's not helpful. So,
Audio settings. What's wrong?
this computer has a little bit of trouble.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So hopefully that should do it. Mic is on. And my volume is up. Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully my mic does not pick up the squeaky mouse as much. Because otherwise I'm going to have to go get a new mouse.
So, what, can you just kind of describe what you're working on maybe?
Yes, so this is the second panel of our page that is about to go up. And right now I am drawing Lowen's face, which is a struggle. Okay. Which this will be just kind of a draft sketch, and then I'll go over it with better detail, but I want to figure out exactly what I want his expression to look like, and I need to fix his cheekbones because they're up a bit too high. They shouldn't connect with his horns, as a general anatomical rule. But I'm gonna put his rough face shape in first. And, wow, no. That's not what we want that to look like. Okay, no, I am actually gonna fix his head shape first. I lied. Those need to come further down. And, then we can make room for his little, like, eye sockets here, so his eyes actually fit. my audio working? Okay. Just wanted to make sure, because you were looking at me funny. And these little spikies kind of work as his eyebrows, so they are how he expresses himself. And, you want a little bit of surprise, but also concern, but also stoicism, because he's a very conflicted gentleman.
Yeah, Lowen never really has been a big talker.
No. Which can't really comment on a whole lot without some spoilers, but he's definitely the strong silent type. And I think I made his eyes too big. But I think that's why he gets along with Cheshire, because Cheshire chats when they are nervous.
Indeed.
And
he's always found that foot in mouth is a real problem sometimes.
but does it matter? Yeah. It turns out some people are the strong silent type for a reason.
But due to his half-dragon heritage, he is very strong.
Yes. I mean, look at him. He is a strong boy.
I think the only other character that comes close is Shale.
Yeah, I think they have about the same strength score. What's wrong?
Starting, I think he still had, I don't remember if it was 2 or 4 more than her.
Yeah.
But he definitely outmatches everyone.
And
I think he got as a half-dragon, he gets a +6. And as a wild elf, Shale got a +2.
Yep. Yeah, this is not. %100% right. I knew his eyes were smaller than that.
Yeah, Barb's just making a quick reference check.
Yeah, sorry guys. Responsible artists do character reference sheets like 1,000 times and don't have to look things up all the time. And I'm not a responsible artist.
Well, I think having a reference is a really responsible thing to do. Otherwise, you'll lose consistency, right? Always be a little bit different.
Yes, which is why I wanted to do a big, like, all angles reference sheet for every character, But then I was all, I've been drawing these characters for years, and I'm totally confident in this. And then, wow, this eye is just...
Well, the reason I said something is they can't tell when you shift away from your
Yeah.
from your work, because the stream
But
only
that's-
captures the window.
That's gonna happen periodically, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, I think it's an important thing for our art because I think people are looking pretty consistent across the pages, and that's part of the reason why. Is that part of why you have the spread across his face, the cross? It helps
Yes.
you get everything in the right spot, right?
Yes. That is like the oldest trick in the artist book is you put this along the eye line and then this down the center of their face so they don't end up like grossly asymmetrical. You just kind of have to know where people's eyes sit. So like for Cheshire down here, their eyes sit quite a bit differently on their face than Lowen's because Lowen's face is shaped very differently. But once you know that, it's like, it's really easy to do.
And it helps guide you.
Yep. And then you can just, boop, turn
take
it
right
off.
when you're done.
Yeah. Which is the best part of digital art because I've worked a lot in traditional mediums and I have no problems with them, but drawing this cross and then having to erase it, but not erase the face you drew beneath it, or above it rather, it doesn't really work. And yes, I am sure that there is a responsible artist cheat for that too, but you know what? I don't know what it is. I just ink everything before I erase, which is its own set of problems, or I just erase very carefully.
Yeah, I think digital art has made this comic possible. Otherwise, it would be a full-time job, and we wouldn't be able to do it.
Yep.
Barb's holding up her hurt arm, so everyone knows.
Just so we're clear on the full-time job aspect. But I mean, yeah, I've actually followed a lot of traditional art or traditional comic artists, and I drew this on the layer with the stupid X, and it finally looked good. Okay, it's fine. And the whole inking process is like takes days of tracing and a special light table that you have to, and then things like the effect in our previous page where it was just really heavily black to bring out Eintai and Alex's faces. You'd have to hand ink that with like a, I can't remember what they're called, but they're calligraphy pens with like a wide tip.
Right, and don't make a mistake.
And don't make a mistake. Yeah. And then you would have to hand do the white outline, and it's a nightmare. I've watched people do it, and I'm like, I have so much respect for you, but can't do that. No.
Excuse me.
That would put me off the deep end. And then I would make one mistake, and I would throw everything away in a fit of rage.
Yeah, sorry if I'm difficult to hear. We'll have to figure out something in a future stream. But if we use the microphone on the laptop, it picks up her mouse squeaking because it's an old mouse, and basically will feedback loop. So she's got her headset on, and that way we avoid anything, any negative sounds that we don't want. But unfortunately, the microphone is positioned for her mouth and not really for mine.
Okay, you know what? It's time to cheat. tired of this eyeball. Oh, gosh. Yeah, okay, I promise it's not going to look like that when it's done. Oh. All right, where'd this eye go? Boop. All right, and then we just got to fix this pupil, but that way they're the same shape.
I think on this page especially, we were talking about how everyone's got, they're kind of worried but stoic faces on, except for Cheshire, who is like terrified.
Which is the only healthy response to what
Right?
is being told. And to this whole scenario in general, like, I mean, I love Cheshire pieces and they're great, but
They're the only ones that look really worried.
and I would look really worried if I had been told the things that I was just told. Like, if you work hard and you do everything perfectly and you listen and you have each other's back and nothing goes wrong, most of you will live. And
But, these people are all trying their best to be stoic and
and
strong and
being literally half the size of the rest of the party,
right.
it's easy to assume you're not going to be one of those people.
And I really like the looks on some of the other faces, like Shale in the first page. She's all excited because she loves challenges and violence and,
Being a
testing her
barbarian.
mettle. And then Eintai, this is not new for her. She's just like, ugh, okay, let's get it
Yeah.
over with.
That look of just straight up disgust. And then slightly increased frown.
Right? And then Alex is like, I know what's going on. This is nothing new. I've been doing it for 10, 15, well, I guess...
Mystery years.
Yeah, quite a few years. And, this is business as usual.
And that's why he doesn't...
And Cheshire in the bottom, she's like, oh my gosh.
And it's quite funny because I was showing this to a good friend of ours who played Lowen at the table, and he was like, "Yeah, I see Lowen and I see this design, but I just can't get over what is wrong with Cheshire." And I'm like, nothing is wrong with Cheshire. Cheshire is reacting like a normal human being should, and he was just like, I mean, I guess that's fair. It didn't really occur to him because, everybody's like, I'm a brave adventurer. And Cheshire's like, I'm not.
I'm not, guys.
I'm not.
I'm gonna play some music to help you feel brave.
Right? And then not even do that for a long time. All right. So I don't want him to be like cross-eyed, but he is kind of turning his attention forward. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that always really is striking to me when I sit and think about it. Because, like, when you're playing D&D, no one's scared.
Yeah.
You have to remember to act scared. It's not until later when you're scared for your character's lives, then you get scared again and you start being cautious. But first adventure, everyone's like, it won't put us up against anything too bad. It'll be all right.
Nope.
But that's one of the first things I always try to do as a DM is I try to help people remember this is dangerous and it's scary.
All right. You know what? We're going to work on Shale for a minute. Lowen's face is just a problem, and I'm going to come back to it. But if I recall, Shale's face in this panel is also a problem, so... But it probably won't be as bad, because she's just crazy.
Well, she's super sassy. And
This is
not
true story.
worried.
Yeah.
She's crazy.
Yes.
She's the barbarian. Barbarians just get angry. They don't get scared.
Right. And that eye is too big.
Shale and Oriella are one of the interesting dynamics in our comic because they are not strangers. They landed in Biss together, and so they, of course, have this natural relationship that they can rely on that no one else has.
Yep. I mean, technically, well, yeah, and it shows.
Right? They stick together. Of the two, I think Shale is the more open one. Oriella kind of just doesn't seem to care about anyone but Shale, which will become apparent.
I have no
I really like her
No
sassy
comment.
smile in that first panel, though.
Yeah. They're flexing because she's
She knows she's strong.
yeah strong.
Yeah, I don't think it's too spoilery to say that Shale is one of the strongest warriors in her tribe, and she's very confident because of that.
Yeah. Also, she has no sense of self-preservation whatsoever,
Right, 'cause
which
she's a
makes her
barbarian.
very confident as well.
We play with a house rule for barbarians in D&D where you can go to negative your hit points while raging, and if you're still in negative hit points below -9 while you're raging, and your rage ends, your heart just bursts from the strain.
Honey Badger don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
and so barbarians really don't have a lot of. Also, shout out to my friend Kai who taught me that rule, which I thought was a really good one. But it really helps barbarians be what they need to be in the party, which is risk takers.
And HP tanks.
Well, and HP tanks, but that's an inherent risk to HP tank, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the barbarian's always there to take the risk that your warrior, or not your warrior, your wizard with maybe 8 hit points at level 2, if he's lucky, has, and he can't take risks, like a barbarian can.
Yep. And I got mad respect for how crazy Shale is. I'm not gonna lie. Small respect for the crazy lady with the nuts eyes, but oh gosh, a little too crazy. Got to tone it down a little bit. But also, unfortunately, when you are afraid of nothing, it can sometimes make you an asshole.
And Biss is a land that, unless you're an asshole, is a little unforgiving,
And Cheshire goes, I don't think I'm gonna like it here.
Well, I don't think hardly anyone likes it in Biss, but they're all stuck there.
It's a true story.
Although the owl bears might like it in Biss.
Yeah, that's fair.
They got that mad keen eyesight, and also they're got a
Gray
big bear body.
Yeah. And they blend in well with it. And I dare say undead like it in Biss.
Undead, the majority of undead don't really have opinions.
That's fair.
But the ones that do, yeah, they like it in Biss.
Well, there's no sun, and there's no happiness, and there's basically nothing around them but prey. So
it's nice.
It's nice. It's good life. It's a solid living. My fine motor skills are not what they should be, so eyes are not the thing that I should have been working on today, but guess what I left to work on? Those look, I think, all right. Okay. Hang on, guys. I gotta check on precisely how insane Shale looks. Yep, okay. I drew her nose wrong. It's a little sharper. And then we can bring her smile down a bit, which will make it less nuts. And more just like overconfident, which is not entirely what she is, but she can be a bit.
Sorry, I'm gonna figure something out on YouTube really quickly for a viewer who messaged me and asked how to do something.
No problem. You do that, and I'm sure I don't have the answer. So, Rangers got your back, viewer, and thanks for watching me struggle bust my way through drawing expressions that I swear to God I know how to draw.
It's always a little harder when someone's watching.
Right? It's like when somebody asks you, hey, what was the name of that thing? And any other day of the week, you could have thought about it and just known. But then somebody asked you, and it's like, well, fuck if I know.
It's actually, there's a psychological name for that, tip of the tongue syndrome, where you have to stop.
Is that really what it's called?
That's what we called it. I'm pretty sure this was called.
Fair enough.
But you have to stop thinking about it for your brain to actually come up with the information. And
Wow.
if you don't stop trying, you will never figure it out because your brain is overworking in the wrong areas to try and find it.
So, I know you know this is already my opinion, but the human brain is profoundly broken. Sometimes I look at nature and I think, wow, nature, you're really cool and you do a good job and crazy shit. Then other times I look at humans and I'm like, wow, nature, what happened there?
It has something to do with the fact that it's like computers. Computers are so complex
Yep.
and have so much potential that just a tiny error can throw everything off and make it wrong. That's how the brain is. Our brains are immeasurably complex. And even compared to other mammals, we have much more complex brains. And so when something goes wrong, it goes real wrong. It's like how reptiles can like have a lot of brain damage before it kills them or hurts them too much.
Yeah.
But we have a little bit of brain damage. It's something you can't speak anymore.
Yeah.
It's like a 1 millimeter lesion on Wernicke's area in your brain prevents the entirety of speech. You can no longer speak.
Sometimes I think that would be a good thing for me. But, you know. Then
Kristen says it's also fun when you have someone in the D&D group who can draw characters. Really helps bring them to life in my mind. I think she's definitely right. That's part of why we decided this comic would be a really good idea is all the art you had done on all the art you had done, you and some of the other characters, but you produced so much art, we were like, this looks really good.
Yeah.
And we should make a comic out of it.
And plus a lot of
says,
writing.
But we aren't all as cute as Cheshire.
Well, no, because Cheshire is the most adorable thing that ever did be, and I love them.
I think people will really love the way she evolves. She stays adorable. They evolve in Cheshire, but they're pretty adorable throughout their whole concept. But as they get
a little more confident, I would say.
Well, I was gonna say as they
secure
get boosts in their confidence, but also as life kind of does
horribly crushes them.
Yeah, it's
over
both.
and over.
They really evolve as they experience life, and not just the good things, but the bad things. Really help them.
Yeah.
Help define them. Ian says it needs more Lowen.
There is
might be some bias there.
A lot of Lowen. If you can't tell, his body mass takes up the bulk of this panel, and that's with a character with wings in the foreground.
Right?
So, I think it has enough Lowen.
Sir Peter says trauma builds character, and he's right.
He's very right. And I, as a player and as a writer, have always felt like you can't rise above the crushing blows of life if there are no crushing blows.
Right?
Now, that said, sometimes the crushing blows are like aimed at your knees, and it makes it really hard to rise above them. But
I mean, that's something that I've always liked about D&D is in a video game, when you have trauma, generally you load it and you try again. But in D&D, there's no load button.
I said hello to Solace Rog, and now he doesn't love me. Well,
Upload
nope.
Right?
What do you mean he only wants to date an elven woman?
But, sometimes you don't always make the right choice in D&D, and you have to live with that or die.
Yep.
And luckily in D&D, death is not always the end.
Yeah.
But Cheshire knows that they hate even the thought of that.
Yep. Big mood.
Big mood right now.
Yep. And that's the thing.
Thanks, Kristen. Lowen is hot. She worked really hard on
making
sure that he was.
Correction. I worked really hard on making sure that he looked like a half dragon. Hot was the easy part.
Right. So Bard always maintains that drawing hot people is her natural state, and so sometimes we work on toning it down a little bit, particularly for monsters.
There's a maybe an ongoing theory at the table that it doesn't matter what the hell your character's charisma is. If I draw them, they're hot now, so they must have a terrible personality.
Well, let's be honest. No one likes playing someone with less than a 10 charisma.
This is a true story.
Have we actually had a character other than Gorbag lately with less than a 10 charisma?
I mean, if you count Savage Worlds.
There's no charisma.
But all my characters still had like the highest possible charisma for Savage
charisma
Worlds.
Works slightly differently in Savage Worlds because everyone has a 0 unless they have some reason to have more.
Yep. And I went out of my way to play an uncharismatic character in Savage Worlds, and guess what? It did not work. But no, what's Midas's charisma?
I think it's a 10.
There you go. And he's a Minotaur. Like, yeah, he's hot. I mean, I'm sorry.
But this party does still stand out, that generated this comic, still stands out as the highest combined charisma score.
Oh, for sure.
By far. I think everyone had a very large charisma.
Yeah, and almost every character in this party started with a level adjustment as a non-standard race, and almost every one of those non-standard races gave a bonus to charisma.
Yes. So this was definitely the party of attractive people.
Which is good, because it was going to be anyway. All right, I'm gonna try this again. I mean,
Kristen says, Gorbag happy. Gorbag YouTube star now.
Gorbag is a YouTube star now, and he deserves to be because he has a fabulous bow tie and wonderful hair.
Ian says it's 11, just so that we all know. It's 11.
Oh, Midas's charisma is 11? Okay. Sorry. I was too busy thinking about Gigi's 18.
But I wonder if I can upload both pictures in the chat.
I need to scoot this chair so I can have something to support my feet on.
No, I can't.
I can pull them up.
I was looking the other day. There's a picture of a big old paladin-looking guy shielding a tiny little goblin child from a bunch of other goblins and arrows. and it says, "You are now part of the party, and we will make you a wizard. Come with us. We love you." And I don't
Huggy
remember the
Buggy.
goblin baby's name.
It's Huggy Buggy.
Huggy Buggy. Huggy Buggy the goblin. But sometimes that's how players do. They fixate on some small detail that you had that you didn't think anyone would really care about, and it becomes a huge part of everything.
Like you write 3 antagonists and they're like, nah, I feel like this one isn't so bad. Let's just break him down on a really traumatic emotional level and then he'll be on our side.
Right?
And you're right.
Like in Harmon Quest, I don't think they expected to like the sandwich slaver as much as they did.
He's like, I'm evil, right? And they're like, nah, you're not so bad.
You're not that bad. It's okay.
Yep. I had someone who I'm not going to name, but a gentleman that I know, say that DMing is like buying a $600 condo for your cats and spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours putting it together just for them to jump in the box and destroy that instead and play with it.
Hashtag mood, guys.
And that's
Hashtag mood is a longtime DM.
That's really, really true.
Sir Peter says every enemy is a friend who needs help to work through their issues.
Aw.
Sometimes that help is a sword through the gut. Sometimes that help is a lot nicer than that. You never know. Depends on the mood of the players.
I help her with my +4 longsword. and that's legit. I think that, especially in the most recent campaign we've been playing, we have created more friends than enemies.
Yes.
And most of the enemies that we have faced have been just hell-bent on murdering us and babies and everything else in their path, and there's just not a lot of talking to them. And I tried. I tried for the first 2.
When I come up with antagonists or things that are going to happen, I try to think through, is there a chance that these people could be friendly to the party if approached correctly? And then, there's always the chance that the party does approach them correctly, and then there's a chance they don't. I found it also often depends on the mood of the people at the time. Like, I had a friend who was a high school teacher.
Okay.
And
always came to the table angry.
Well, not always, but we played during the week because it just worked out better for everyone's schedules.
Mm-hmm.
And if the kids had driven him up a wall that day, yeah, there was less negotiation.
Yeah.
But sometimes we played on the weekend, and he was always a lot happier. So yeah, it's just he even said, after I've been grading papers and reading these just incredibly stupid sometimes responses that I'm like, you didn't even try. He's like, I just need to blow off some steam.
Yeah.
And that's what D&D is for me.
My dad used to teach a history class, and he never believed that tests were really that much of a proof that you were listening or not, because he would have these students who turned in great papers, I was one of them, but did terribly on tests. So a lot of his test answers were absolute gimmies, okay? Like, he would ask a question, a multiple choice question, like, who were some of the antagonists in World War II from the U.S. perspective? And one of the answers was Lord Voldemort. Like, come on. Do you know how many people answered Lord Voldemort?
Too many?
Way, way too many. I mean, one was too many, but it was not one. And I used to help my dad grade papers, and he'd just look at me and be like, I don't, there's no teaching these children. And I'm like, maybe they were being sarcastic. And he's like, with their grades?
I had a teacher in high school that the answer to number 2 on every test was always B, so that he could say 2B or not 2B.
Wow.
But the last test of the year was always C, so he could say 2C if you'd put 2B.
Wow. That's puns
amazing.
on a whole level.
Yeah.
That So I'm dreadfully sorry if this is boring for people, but this is the process, and it's not super
Sir Peter
glamorous.
says it, meaning D&D, definitely helps with my students needing a healthy way to express themselves. And as definitely, you can express yourself however you want in D&D. That's what's part of why it's so magical. You know, you can be anything. You can be an 8-foot tall half dragon, or you can be a tiny little bard, or you can be, you can be
Any one of these hateful lunatic fucks.
right. And you can be male, you can be female, you can be neither.
Yep.
You can be both.
Well, and the thing is, that's all wholly acceptable in D&D and in anything made by Wizards of the Coast.
Right.
Like,
There's
no such exactly. There's no penalties for gender identity or for sexuality or for your physical sex. Like I think it was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, certain classes were locked against female characters.
I don't recall classes, but
or was it a strength cap?
Yeah, strength cap and penalty.
Yep, and then they were like, "Oh, that's stupid."
Right? You could roll the Holy Grail of 1800 strength, but if you were female,
it was just going to be a
16. 1875.
Yeah.
Or 1850, I don't remember.
Yeah. So
you could never perform as well. You were de-incentivized, and there was no balance. There was no.
But female characters get a bonus to like intelligence or wisdom or something.
Well, and genetically, they should have given them a bonus to dexterity because it's just part of the way humanity's evolved to have women with higher fine motor skills and more agile capability. So if it had been anything but sexist, there would have been a bonus to dexterity or something to offset it. But they just were like, "Lol, girls are weak."
Yep. But
which is ridiculous.
They got over that very quickly.
They did.
And I recently was I was reading something about Magic the Gathering and how one of the planeswalkers is in a gay relationship with another planeswalker, and I don't remember their names because I don't really do Magic, but how people were giving Wizards of the Coast shit because there wasn't enough attention brought to this. And they're like, there's not enough attention brought to this because they're on opposing sides and they'd both be crucified. And it has nothing to do with the fact that they're gay and everything to do with the fact that they're slinging lightning bolts around and everybody wants to kill them.
Right. Well, that's how you can tell when something is done well, because it's normalized. It's not, oh my gosh, let's bring huge attention to that they're gay.
And I personally,
it's normal. No one remarks on it.
Yeah, in terms of like representation and diversity in characters, I personally hate when excess attention is drawn for no reason other than the fact that the character is diverse to the diverse character. Like, I just think that all characters should be interesting and diverse, and that you should be interested in all of them. And there are some that are going to be less than others, but homophobia is not a good platform to build your diversity on.
No. And like we were talking about how we wanted to handle all of that, and we were talking about we remembered watching Batman the Animated Series, where they never talk about anything that ever, but they just include their cast of extras and important people is just full of
really diverse characters. It's really interesting
in race and in the way they present themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they never draw any attention to it whatsoever, which is probably why it didn't get acclaimed. But if you actually pay attention to the backgrounds, like almost every random extra doctor or scientist or something is a young, attractive woman, or even an older woman, but they have a lot of female extras who are clearly in a position of power, and like you'll just see multiracial couples walking down the streets. Like they gave zero fucks, and I have so much appreciation for that, because people are
Bruce
people.
Wayne didn't say, "Oh, look at that wonderful interracial couple over there,"
or
or
you know, like neither of those.
it was just included.
Yep, he just walked up and shook their hands and was like, "Hi, I'm billionaire Bruce Wayne." Which, to be fair, I guess if I was a billionaire, I might introduce myself as billionaire Bruce Wayne as well, but he did it a lot.
Well, that's because he wanted people to focus on that, and not the fact.
And not the fact that he was Batman.
But the logic trail doesn't have to go too far.
Yep.
In fact, his biggest defense was, "I'm a billionaire Bruce Wayne. I'm a playboy. There's no way I could be Batman.
I'm too busy to be Batman. I'm too busy being rich to be Batman."
Right.
And then on Marvel's side, you have Tony Stark, who's like, "Yes, I'm Iron Man."
Yeah.
Holds out arms for applause.
And Cheshire says, "I want to be a billionaire."
Cheshire does. Cheshire, I mean,
they're a miniature dragon who wants to roll in their horde. That's
yes.
what they want.
Yes. And you know what? I don't blame them. But also, I want to say it's a Bard thing, but I think it's less a Bard thing and more a Cheshire thing. Like, I think all Bards want to be rich and famous, sure. Because why else do you become a Bard, besides the fact that you're an orphan?
That's a matter of opinion.
But it's not a wrong opinion.
Either because they love music or they're struck with wanderlust.
And they don't have good parents.
I mean, you have to have some opportunity.
Yep.
I recall my sister wanted to be a bassoonist until she found out that a bassoon costs $10,000 for a a mid-range quality.
This is why I'm not good at playing the cello, because the only cello I could afford is bottom of the barrel, and there's only one cello teacher in the state, and he's a sexist piece of garbage, and I hate him. So, you know.
But I guess to the point of what we were talking about is we wanted the comic to be casually inclusive. We didn't want to draw attention to anything in the comic and make a big deal out of it. I just wanted people to be the way they were and have everyone just be okay with that.
Yep. And it's not to say that, you know, these people don't ever face adversity, but it's just not like it is in our world where it's just born out of nothing but shittiness. And that's, you know, because, yeah, I mean, Wizards of the Coast has straight up said, there's no universe that we've made where homophobia is a prevalent thing.
Right.
Like, if your DM homebrewed some homophobia, bad on them, but it wasn't us.
Right.
And, you know, I think in 5th edition even they've done a lot of interesting stuff with elves apparently being able to change sex after like a 500-year sleep or something.
Yeah, my brother always thought that they just changed whenever they felt like it because he couldn't tell.
Well, it's not necessarily wrong. As we saw, sometimes elves look a lot alike, and you think a certain guy died at the Battle of Helm's Deep, and he didn't die at the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Right.
And
but you know, I mean, it's like, if that bothers you, whatever, but don't. What I'm trying to say is that they included that. Why does that bother people? It shouldn't.
Well, and I think they were getting heat from both sides, because there's always those stupid people who are like, I see, this is their agenda. But then also they were getting heat from people who wanted more representation, who felt like Wizards of the Coast was willing to give representation, but they were hiding it. You know, that these two gay planeswalkers were in a secret relationship, and Wizards of the Coast was finally like, okay, well, if you played Magic, you would know that they're of opposing forces. They're leaders of opposing forces.
Right. I guess that's always a danger, too, is that people who don't actually know what you're talking about or aren't invested in your story
are going to
get upset and try to co-opt it.
Yep. And that's the thing is, you know, it was getting hijacked by people who were just being stupid. And one of the artists who did the character art for one of the Planeswalkers was like, yeah, I can straight up tell you right now that homophobia is not the issue here, and that he can call lightning storms is the issue here.
Right.
And
Well,
I designed him, and I am here to tell you that that's not where it's at.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to take into perspective the ability to use magic because it really does change a lot of things.
Right.
The fact that you're walking down the street and some guy could just open up a portal to hell and you would never know just to look at him,
Right?
if he didn't want you to, it really takes away some of the petty hatreds we have of each other.
And it's like kind of why generally in fantasy settings, especially like in WoW, there's not a lot of skin color racism.
Right.
Because why are you bothering being racist? I mean, you shouldn't ever bother being racist, but why do you bother being racist against this guy with a darker skin tone than you when that oh yeah, it just said reconnection successful. It briefly disconnected. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, well, looks like it's doing it again.
Hang on.
Oh, okay. Seems to be working.
Are you seeing Chester's face being zoomed in on? Or is it just stuck?
Well, it was a bit of a lag.
Okay.
Yeah, there.
Okay. All right. Cool. Because on my end, it now says it's working, but I just don't want to. All right. So here is.
Kristen says, don't have time to be racist in D&D because we're all gonna die. Ain't got the time.
Gigi agrees, and Bart agrees too.
Yep. That's definitely true.
I mean, really, like.
Well, I mean, there's a certain level of racism in it because, you look at a succubus and you go, oh, wow, she's going to try to steal my soul.
But you're almost certainly not wrong, because she,
Yeah.
with the exception of, like, Fall from Grace, canonically,
But, like,
the monster manual does say, always chaotic evil.
Right. But with almost every other race, you are going to have examples of good and examples of bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it pays to find out, like you guys found out with Gorbag, the goblin, or Huggy Buggy.
Yep. And, nymphs are chaotic good, supposedly.
But nature
doesn't mean they're nice.
Yes.
And
even lawful good doesn't mean you're nice.
It's
no
Vanathar.
No alignment guarantees nice or mean.
Yep.
Like you could have the nicest chaotic evil person ever who is screwing your wife behind your back, but to your face is super nice to you, so you don't get suspicious.
Yep. And I think a lot of people struggle with the fact that chaotic evil does not mean chaotic stupid.
Right. Or chaotic out of control.
Yeah, and that chaotic neutral does not mean hide the peanut butter, things about to get freaky. Because for some reason, chaotic neutral is like the most abused and misunderstood.
Sir Peter says, nymphs are ... nymphs.
And that is correct.
Nymphs do how nymphs do.
My paladin has learned that the hard way.
And that
he's
met 4 nymphs, and that he's met 4 very different personalities in each one.
Mm-hmm. None of which he was prepared for. I'm going to be really honest.
For a pregnant nymph, because that's not supposed to happen.
Yep. Wasn't prepared for a pregnant nymph who was like super motherly and was like, don't use that soap in your hair, use this. And he's like, this is great. And then wasn't prepared for any of her daughters. No. All right. And yes, I know he still doesn't have another eye, but you know what? Eyes are overrated. And he will eventually.
Pirate loan? Yar.
I mean, I think the only thing that can make Lowen hotter at this point would be like one of the big over-the-top anime eye scars that's just gonna like keep his eye perpetually closed but not really seem to do anything else.
Or affect his depth perception.
No, doesn't do that. What are you talking about? You could be the world's greatest swordsman and have one eye, obviously. Every anime ever told me that.
Well, I think real swordsmen say, yeah, actually, it makes it harder. It's a lot harder. Kristen says, Rutland puts his head in his hands. Sir Peter says, eyes are difficult. You're right, though, Sir Peter, you're right.
Yes, eyes are difficult. And eyes are something that I usually do at the beginning of the day when I can make really tight lines and my hands don't hurt and my focus is...
Yes, we may be better served to do things other than eyes.
Yeah.
Also, it's been an hour, so let's not push your arm too much. But
Yeah.
if you still feel good, we'll keep going.
I'm good right now. I'm just coloring these happy little trees. I mean, they're not trees, but they're...
I don't think Threads of Fate is what
Bob Ross had in mind.
but
there were trees.
Yes.
They didn't look very happy, though.
Kristen says, I think the unspoken lesson here is don't waste too much time on something and just go on to another part and take a break. Yes, if you learn that, that's a good lesson.
Yes. It's really hard for me to not break into song right now because I'm obsessed with musicals, and there's a song called Take a Break from Hamilton that I love very much.
Well,
but
in my cognitive brain science class, we always did talk about how taking a break actually allows your brain to rest, and that when you come back to it, even if it's only 20 minutes later, that part of your brain is much more refreshed in getting ready to deal with that problem again.
I mean, this is truth. I sometimes am playing Scrabble, and in between the sexual harassment I suffer from random strangers on Words with Friends, I just stare at things and go, there are no words in these letters. I don't care that the English language is immense. It's a lie. But then I get mad and I put it down and I come back 20 minutes later and I'm like, oh, this word is worth like 78 points. How did I not think of that earlier? But, that guy conceded, by the way. He finally conceded.
After you wouldn't send him nudes?
Yes, correct. And after he could not grasp that I was telling him that I was not interested in every way, shape, and form possible.
But you kept playing the game.
I'm like, yes, because I was winning and I didn't want to lose my win streak. It had nothing to do with you, r/nice guys. Like,
So yes, Kristen, definitely. I think that's a big part of art of any kind, is to take breaks and not push yourself. Like I find that, especially when I'm planning out a big D&D campaign, a lot of my inspiration comes when I'm just laying in bed thinking.
Or on a long car drive. That's when all the conspiracy theories hit me.
I know. I've gotten a lot of... I'm driving right now, but
Yeah, well, but are they wrong?
I mean, you've been wrong sometimes, but you're usually on the right track.
Yeah.
You were right on the money when you were like, the Jod God is a woman.
I think I might be in a bad relationship. I think my girlfriend's bad news. Women are bad news. The Jod God's a woman. That wasn't my exact train of thought, but I'm pretty sure it was Gigi's. And he's like, women are trouble, but I love and respect them, and I wish I could stop horribly hurting them.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. I gotta remember the... Oh, I have the pattern right up here. Duh. All right, it like tucks up under his chin and then goes down along these lines. Like right here. Yeah, that's what I marked those lines for. Haha. Yep. Okay.
Our link thumbnail for the art stream is sassy Shale and Oriella. That's pretty funny.
And Eintai looking like those are the bitches in class who
Aren't
won't
paying-
stop talking while you know the shit's gonna be on the test.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Cool. That's probably my favorite part of like this whole page. I spoiler alert, I love Eintai's face. I love drawing it. I love how expressive it is. And I think that she's super, super gorgeous and a really like interesting, spiteful piece of garbage character.
My favorite part is the part you haven't written or drawn yet in panel 3. I think it's going to be wonderful.
I
think everyone
hope I
in
don't
the,
let you
in the
down.
comic disagrees with me.
Yes.
Sir Peter says his, meaning Lowen's, markings are very reminiscent of traditional Maori tattoos to me.
Well, I tell you what, I was kind of bullshitting and making them up as I went along, but I'm really glad to see that somebody connected with them on some level. Because I just was my only experience with any kind of like elven face paint or anything like that is Dragon Age, and I didn't want to just be like, well, I'm going to pick one of these Dragon Age patterns because that's totally wrong and cheaty and stupid. But so I tried to find something that was unique and interesting and also would complement how incredibly square his face is, because the boy's got a square head.
He's lucky he doesn't have a maw.
I'm lucky he doesn't have a maw. So, yeah, I think that that's really cool, and I am glad to hear that they ring true to someone, because
we're just trying to make them aesthetically pleasing.
Yes, that is the ultimate goal with everything: is does it look good, and is it not some kind of offensive symbol that I'm gonna find out later? Is just like,
yeah,
what do you mean I accidentally drew a swastika? Like, I just...
Well, you laugh, but I was watching Penny Arcade's reality TV show where they brought 6 webcomic creators in, and they had to do all this stuff, right? But at the end of the day, they would have to create. Well, whoever lost the challenges, they had the 2 people that lost the most had to go and do a comic off, and they had 3 hours to make a whole comic that was just interesting, based on 2 random words pulled out of a box.
Oh no.
And this one guy did this really great looking comic, but he basically drew the SS symbol.
Oh.
And it had SS in it for like sword savers or something like that.
Oh no.
And they were like, yeah, this looks really great, man, but did you realize what you were doing? This has very Nazi-esque iconography. And he was like, oh, I had no idea. I was just under pressure. And they were like, well, sorry you lose because of it.
Yep, because Nazis are bad. It's 2019. I think we can all say that comfortably. And then, of course, this reminds me of this Craig Ferguson bit where he's like, you know what? I hate being a stand-up comedian because I always am getting hate mail because of somebody I've offended. Right. But the one safe thing you can joke about is Nazis, because like no one likes Nazis, right? So he does this whole bit about Nazis, and then he's like, now just wait, I'm gonna get this email that says, Craig, I am a Nazi and I am deeply offended. And I'm just like, I mean, yeah.
I had a teacher that said, I grew up with Polish jokes, and then I grew up and I realized that that's horrible and offensive, but the jokes were still funny, so I just changed Polish to moron. Because no one wants to self-identify as a moron, and if you get offended, then you're saying I'm a moron. And so he always told moron jokes, and he's like, I don't like putting anyone down. These jokes are just kind of funny. And he's like, I don't think these are true of Polish people at all. In fact, when I grew up, I realized that the people around me were really kind of horrible and actually believed this was all true of Polish people. And
oh no.
And it made him really sad. He's like, but jokes are jokes. Jokes are funny. And I like to tell jokes.
And that's the thing is like, I play Cards Against Humanity like the next red-blooded terrible American. And occasionally I put down a card and I'm like, I promise I'm more woke than this, but just kind of funny.
Well,
But then
the name of the game in Cards Against Humanity is putting down things you don't really think.
right, exactly. But then I have
Unless you hate humanity, I guess.
yeah, I have well, so I have had the unfortunate experience of playing with a group of people who seemed to share some really offensive ideology, and I was just like, I'm a
Let us go now.
I'm gonna leave. And they're like, no, you're the only sober person. Please don't leave.
Just drive us home, please.
Right?
Wow.
And I was like, nah. I did end up staying, of course, because I was terrified of drunk people trying to drive home alone. But I was like, look, because, when you're drunk, all those filters come off. And when you're drunk and playing Cards Against Humanity, they really come off.
Yeah.
And you're not fooling me, not for one skinny minute. And like, I'm not an easily offended person. I'm not. I think anyone who knows me for like half a second knows that that's not true. But wow, when you can sit me down during a game of Cards Against Humanity and make me uncomfortable, like, whew.
Apparently, playing Cards Against Humanity with your mom is a good way to get yourself uncomfortable.
Okay, so I actually, this is a wonderful story. I thoroughly enjoyed playing Cards Against Humanity with my mom, but my older sister, who has for some reason always been like really freaked out by the idea that my mom has a sex life, even
Which
though my mom
clearly
has
she does.
6 children, so obviously, but so I got a huge box set of Cards Against Humanity cards for Christmas one day, or I guess, well, one
1
Christmas,
year.
obviously, yeah, 1 year. And my mom was like, "So what is this game you just made me buy?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it, Mom. You won't like it." And she's like, I'm a grown up. I can play." And so we sat down to play Cards Against Humanity with my mom, with the Christmas expansion, which includes some horrifyingly just gross cards. And my mom, she won. She collected the most black cards, but she also broke my sister and straight up sent her out of the room with some combination of the Grinch's. Uh, did we mark the stream as 18 plus or?
No, this one's not 18 plus.
Whoops. All right. Well, we'll just say that my mom is capable of being a foul-mouthed individual, and I will now watch what I say going forward.
Well, yeah.
It's not like our channel was monetized, but hey, we just got demonetized.
I don't think we've said anything that is violates YouTube policy. We certainly haven't said anything worse than PewDiePie.
Oh gosh, no. But I mean, somehow the Game Grumps have stayed monetized, and I mean, I love them dearly, but Aaron said some things in a rage that no human being should say on the internet. So I think we'll be fine. But
Yeah, but we're definitely not monetized.
yeah. Well, I guess I figured by the fact that the comic itself is 18 plus that we would generally be not generating 12-year-olds in the audience, but then I realized that I work in retail and people buy their kids Grand Theft Auto.
I think we'll have a mostly adult audience, but we'll have some teen. Sir Peter says it's all fun and games until your mom starts drunkenly talking about Tom Jones. That was what happened to me.
Oh no. Yeah, that'll do it. My mom has never been drunk in front of me, but oh my gosh, both of my grandmothers got drunk in front of me on a regular basis and said some shit I'll never forget. Like, oh goodness, it's yeah. Drunk people in general scare me because I just never know what's going to come out of their mouth. But, whew, drunk old people especially are like, whew, whew, whew.
I think Aintai has very pretty eyes.
She does. I agree. Thank you. I just got to make sure I shape her eyeliner right because it's not messed up yet.
Yep.
So it still focuses her glare and
That's
hatred.
Something to look forward to is we plan on not having these characters always pristine and well groomed.
Yeah. I believe that when you, and that's actually one of the reasons why, and probably nobody will ever notice this, but Mimi's hair in these panels is considerably more disheveled and a bit more foofy than it was in the beginning, and that's because humidity does not treat ponytails well. And that's the kind of thing that I take pride in paying attention to, and I think probably no one in the world does. But like these people putting on makeup and face paint every morning, that's not going to last a long time. And I also there's something to be said for like adventurers don't get the chance to change their clothes much. Those clothes is nasty, and I always kind of paid attention to that a little, but it really struck me when I was playing Uncharted, actually. Uncharted 3, I think, for the first time. It might have been the second game. But if you run around for long enough in this one area that's like really dirty and you're on a shipyard, and the main character wears a white shirt, it does not stay white for very long.
Right.
And I was so impressed with the amount of just incredibly loving detail that they put into making his clothes dirty and grimy that I was like,
It's one of the things I loved about Lord of the Rings. Aragorn, man, he just gets dirtier and dirtier and bloodier.
and I'm sure you know this because you're a 1,000 times more ultra Lord of the Rings fan than I am, but Viggo Mortensen, when he was playing Aragorn, he decided that he was going to wear his costume from the beginning of the day to trek the like 6+ mile hikes to where they were filming because he was like, nah, it's authentic. I can't just show up at this scene and look like I just came out of the makeup booth.
Yeah, I mean, you do see him clean. You see him really clean in like Rivendell because he didn't have a 6 hour trek, and they were sets and all of that. But yeah, it's something I really liked about that.
Man.
And it just makes sense. Adventurers be dirty.
I wanted to say he committed to that role, but actually I don't think he committed to that role so much as he just was that role.
Right.
Like, Viggo Mortensen just is Aragorn.
I think so. And that what a great thing to be.
Right.
And that's part of why, though, Gimli never really looks that dirty too, because he didn't do all the trekking. John Rhys Davies, the man's gigantic. If he had trekked 6 miles in full dwarven plate, he'd have died. And he was just basically just a face actor.
Well, yeah, because that's the other thing is that most of Gimli is CGI, and so even if he had done the trek and been dirty, the CGI to make him a dwarf would have ultimately just.
Yeah, and I remember someone being like, Viggo Mortensen and Orlando Bloom are super bros, and they're like, "Are you bros with John Rhys Davies?" And they're like, "We didn't really ever meet him."
Right.
Like, we barely knew him. We knew his body double real well. He was our bro.
Yep.
Because he was the one wearing the armor everywhere.
And I mean...
Interesting Lord of the Rings facts.
Yes.
I have a lot of those.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure that there will be at least one on every stream going forward that you can look forward to.
Hopefully.
Just please, nobody in the comments bring up the Hobbit movies.
Yeah, let's just leave that one
Whew.
alone.
But yeah, so I don't know. I hope my weird opinions and my coloring is entertaining to people.
Well, we still have people watching.
Yay!
That's a good sign.
Nobody's been like, nope, don't want any part of this.
Give us a thumbs up or something if you guys are enjoying it. An emoji or whatever they're called.
An emoji or whatever they're called.
I had to look.
Ranger, you're dating us. Please don't do this.
Sorry.
You're teaching people how old we are. And man, Aintai looks so severe when her eyebrows are colored and the rest of her isn't, but it's okay because she's a real severe lady. And did I color her eyes up here? I didn't. Or her eyebrows. Okay. but I think they are supposed to be a little skinnier than that, so we'll just delete those. And
Thanks, Sir Peter.
Did he tell us what the young folk call the emojis now? Okay. Because we're all apparently ancient. Also, I'm sorry if my constant zooming in and zooming out is like giving people motion sickness or something. I have heard that complaint often on art streams, and I'll try to not do that as much, but that's a habit that's gonna die really hard. Like harder than I wanted to say something clever about the Die Hard movies, but I haven't
But you're
seen.
not Jake Peralta?
I'm not Jake Peralta, and I haven't seen the Die Hard movies. So, well, I've seen one. I saw
they are
one.
emoji.
Oh, well, there you go. At least we're not alone in being old people who don't know what all the emojis are, because like David Tennant famously doesn't know that the eggplant emoji is not just an eggplant. And he was very traumatized when someone at work told him that. And
I didn't know till I saw that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, really?
It's quite obvious, but I've never texted the eggplant ever.
Well, good.
Kristen sends us many thumbs up and hearts.
Oh, yay. Thanks,
Thanks,
you, Kristen.
You guys are the lucky few who are in on the ground level.
Right.
You get to see us before we're all professional.
Lucky. I hope you can hear the sarcasm in my voice.
Yeah, I mean, we got the art stream going, but we forgot.
Just barely.
We forgot which one. We downloaded two, and we forgot which one was the one that didn't work. And we tried to make it all happen with the one that didn't work again. And we went through all that pain and suffering again.
And then I got in trouble for not updating my computer, but it turns out that it was the program's fault, not mine.
I think just in general, we should not ever have updates pending.
I hate them. And they always send me a reminder whenever I'm busy in the middle of something.
It's always Windows is expert at that.
I mean, I'm like, hey, I'm being murdered by a deerclops, or hey, I have 3 minutes to finish this and post it, and it's like, we should do an update. Let's get better together. And I'm like, no, I don't want to get better with you, Microsoft. Stop it.
But luckily, we figured it out.
Yeah.
With
like 3 minutes to spare.
No, we had 10 minutes.
Okay, this is fair.
It's not better, but we did.
10's different than 3. I shouldn't be coloring around this hand because I'm going to change this hand because this hand is not a hand, but it's all right.
Looks like she's going to punch some people behind her.
Yeah.
For not paying attention to class.
Right. Now,
a deer clops, Sir Peter, is from Don't Starve Together. It's a deer cyclops that comes in wintertime to ruin your life.
And it's the worst. And it...
Because mostly, even if you run away, it will destroy your base out of spite and anger.
Yeah. If you get away from it, he'll just be like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. I didn't want to kill you anyway. I just wanted to take everything you loved and destroy it. And then you freeze to death or starve to death because the deerclops has destroyed everything you own and you can't even go back to your own home. And it's horrible. And I'm learning ways to fight him, and it's mostly don't fight him. Lead him to some other bigger monster that will kill him for you.
That was our original defense, was you hear him coming, you just run. Doesn't matter where, you just run away. And
then he stomps around there and gets mad.
And then you just never go back to where he is.
Until spring when he despawns. It's a wonderful game. It is one of my favorite pastimes.
Kristen says, I have to go back to work at 3:30 and I'm super sad. Please do more streams. We certainly plan on it.
And I am sorry that you have to go back to work. Work is stupid. I say as I work.
Well, yeah, it'd be nice if we didn't have to work. Because then we could update twice a week. But we're glad you like it, Kristen. We hope you and more people like it. So if you like it,
follow our channel
follow
and
our
subscribe
channel
and support us on Patreon.
I think everyone here probably does.
You are correct, but you have to get used to plugging.
Sir Peter says Hachi Machi. I don't know what that is.
I Hachimachi headbands for runners when they compete in races, is what Google says. The herb feedback of them barking. Yay, reconnection successful.
Well, you're not safe for work streams. I mean, I don't know where they're going to have them, not at your house.
I will figure it out. And I mean, they might. And people might just have to put up with my dog barking in the not safe for work streams. Because, I haven't stopped stalking in case just because his dog barks. In fact, I'm like, oh, I love your dog. Please show me a picture of your dog.
Ian says, speaking of work, I've been drifting in and out whenever I get a call. We appreciate it that you spend some of your workday with us.
Yeah.
If your boss gets mad at you, I'll give you a DM's note. Not that it's good for anything, but I'll give you one.
Maybe you can hand it to him and he'll just read DR and think it's doctor?
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going to be honest. No overly personal information, but in the town I live in, DMs are smarter and more competent and more useful than doctors. Who have almost killed me on multiple occasions. And at least when DMs have almost killed me, they've been trying.
Right.
But usually they just try to kill my dads instead.
Yeah, I mean, doctors in this town said I had mild bronchitis and near-death experience with pneumonia later. They were wrong.
Turns out you had severe asthma and pneumonia.
Right?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things I could say about that situation, but I'm just going to say that I'm glad you lived.
I too am glad I lived.
And I'm glad you don't live with the people you lived with anymore.
Yeah. Me too.
And I promise my bird won't kill you.
Well, you'll actually take care of it.
Right? She's so precious. I'm so excited.
So when you say you're going to redraw the hand, what do you mean?
So,
well, sorry. Just real quick. Kristen says DMs are scarier than doctors.
DMs are scarier than doctors because doctors are using their limited powers for good and DMs are using their unlimited powers for evil. That's why.
Tell me how you really feel.
What?
All right. Go ahead about the hand.
This isn't a hand. This is a
placeholder?
A lump that almost kind of looks like a hand. And so hopefully it'll be about the same shape, or else I'm going to have to recolor this cloak, because I'm doing this all out of order because I am not used to focusing on two things at once. But, there should be like a thumb coming around here, and like, the hand should actually be more shaped like that probably, and you should be able to see the one finger like curled around because it's in a fist, and it should look like that, and it doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm gonna undo all that. But yes, so hopefully this hand will not look like this, and if it does, I'm gonna cover it in mist and cheat. Haha. Just I jest mostly.
Sir Peter said they use their powers for entertainment, not evil.
These two things are not mutually exclusive, Sir Peter.
That's fair enough.
I'm just saying.
And Kristen says, truth, Bard.
Thank you. Now, how in the world did I end up putting this layer above our...
Above our bar?
Yeah, because these were supposed to be at the very top. But I think I moved them to the bottom for some really stupid, childish reason. But it's okay, I'll fix it later. And I'm just gonna...
Goodbye, Kristen. Thank you for watching.
Goodbye, Kristen. And I hope you have a wonderful day at work. And I'm so glad that you watched me do all of these silly things. And if we have any artists watching this stream, yes, I'm aware that I do everything wrong. No, I don't know how to fix it, okay? Alright. I guess I should work on Shale's very handsome thighs now. Pardon me. But actually, they're not going to go much lower than that because there should be a rock there. Oh, that's why the bottom of her... Right. Okay. Hang on. There's supposed to actually be like a rock in the foreground here that I forgot about that is like up here in this panel. It's like a slopey shape. And that's why I didn't draw these much further than this, and I forgot about that. So I didn't need to color all of that robe, but that's okay. I'll just erase some of it. Ooh. I'm sorry, guys. I'm yawning all over the place, and just because I don't sleep enough, probably. Didn't mean to hide that. Da 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 da. Not 100% sure that face is passive enough.
Does look a little...
Well, like, because she's supposed to look mildly concerned, but ultimately, Oriella just has faith that, like, whatever danger is there, Shale's
We'll
gonna
keep her
kill it.
safe.
Yeah, because that's what she's always done, you know? So I don't want it to look
Yeah. Yeah.
too,
She's always been,
human.
That's how you really feel, Bart. She's
a bitch.
She's not really ever been hurt by anything but cold iron.
Correct.
She's just not worried.
Right.
Her magic has always been sufficient, and if it isn't, she'll vivisects it with her halberd.
Yes. And so, you know, gotta make sure she,
She's like, these pitiful humans, they're all so scared. Pitiful mortals, I guess you should say.
And most of them aren't, except for that one.
That one's real scared.
That one's real scared, and you know what? They have every reason to be. And she's one of them. Oh dear. Oriel is not my favorite character. That's all I can say.
But she's an important one.
She is. She is. Oriella represents a very important fact of life. I think, what is that? That's Lowen's arm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I need to put some...
How are you feeling, Bard? You should be up for another half an hour.
Yeah, I was just thinking we could probably go till about 4, because my wrist hurts, but it's not, like, really bad right now. And so I'll probably work on these rocks some, and, oh yeah, I gotta squeeze Nerida in here somewhere. Nerida's a big lady. She's hard to squeeze in places.
Be like a very hand.
Yeah, she's gonna be, but I want her to be able to bend a little because she's supposed to be looking down
Right, what we
at,
talked about.
yeah. So she's easier to squeeze when she's standing up straight, but
I wouldn't mind squeezing the narrative, you know what I mean.
For any of you just tuning in, we're 13.
I mean, if you compare our size to narrative, we look about 13.
That's a very true story. And Cheshire's like, I am the support class. If anyone is squeezing anyone, it is me. But...
Well, they are a bard after all.
Right. They're just not a very good one.
Not yet.
Not yet. It's hard to be level 1 for
Peter
5
says,
levels.
Oh my.
Well... Great, so we want... like her looking downward and not balding. What did I do with the hairline?
Oh, thank you, Ian, for subscribing.
Yay!
We appreciate it. I just got the notification, even though it says 34 minutes ago.
Oh, cool story. Well, belated thank you for subscribing.
Yep.
Okay, reconnection successful. Wonderful. Hope we didn't lose you guys for too long. But Ranger was just asking me what is the easiest part of people for me to draw usually. And I immediately said faces, even though I just struggled with eyes for a really long time. But faces and, like, anatomy in general, just people are easier than everything else. But by faces, I mean structure and expression. That's not to say I don't struggle with the other eye, which is like the infamous thing that I think everybody struggles with.
Right.
But
I think you have done a really good job of making everyone have different expressions. So when you say you like to draw expressions, I can, it's kind of apparent.
Yeah. And then, outside of that, it's probably boobies. I mean, I'm quite good at those, and they're very easy once you understand what they are. But that and hair, because hair is not necessarily always easy to draw, but I love it, as you can see by how much all of these characters have. And I guess it's not necessarily super realistic hair, but it doesn't have to be because it's fabulous, and I don't apologize for that. But I think I don't have as much practice with like legs and feet. Not so much legs and feet, but legs and feet in motion. And so making people walking without making them look stiff is sometimes the struggle bus.
Right, because it's not like it's animated.
Yeah. So she should probably have her arms drawn up a little, like, ew. But not that much. And then just kind of, a lot of it is just kind of figuring things out as you go. And hopefully, I've been told that process gets easier with experience, and everything else I've ever done has gotten easier with experience. So, you know,
It's kind of the hard truth about life.
yep. I was recently talking to somebody about, art in general and how I really wish there was a magic button, but there's not. It's just practice, 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 practice,
And learn from your mistakes.
and learn from your mistakes. And you can't delete or throw away every old thing you've ever drawn, because if you do, even if they're cringe-topia and you hate seeing them, like, you have nothing, for one, to track your progress, and for two, to learn from, because there's a picture that I drew once upon a time that I really, really liked, and I thought it was adorable, but at some point I realized that one of the characters in this picture had two left hands. Just had two left hands, and somehow I hadn't noticed this, and no one else had noticed this, and
Cleverly disguised left hand. But you'll never forget it, right?
yeah, but I'll never ever forget it. And I just was like, and it also helped me learn. I don't want to say not to take compliments, because that's not right at all. That's not what I mean. But just that, like, how much other people don't notice.
Right.
Well,
no one's going to make as close an inspection on it as you are.
Right.
Because most people who look at it are going to look at the whole thing and be like, that's neat.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, some people might look at closer details if they're personally invested in them, but still almost never the whole composition, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so
you have to be your own harshest critic.
Yes, because you can pass something on to someone, and in fact, I used to draw when I was in bed next to somebody who was living with me at the time, and even next to my boyfriend, and they would straight up not notice things for like days, and then when I was finishing and coloring something, they'd be like, "That's what that is," and I'm like, "What did you think that was?" Especially because it was typically not safe for work stuff, and there was not a whole lot of question what these various things were. But there's just the level of things that you can actually get away with as an artist, and it's made me more critical even of art in general, especially of anime as a genre. Because don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against anime itself, and there are good animes, but I sometimes, especially with erotic anime art, look at it and I'm just like, how do people not see this?
We were talking about the legs of the characters in the comic, and you showed me that one picture of a woman.
With her leg that's like
super hot, but like
it's
her
just
leg was not
broken,
connected to her body anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
and it just threw the whole thing.
It looked like 100% like if you took a Barbie and you bent it over and you broke its leg off and then just turned it the other way.
And put it slightly behind it.
It was very much, it was like uncanny valley creepy shit. And I guess you're just not supposed to notice that because the person is attractive, but
when you do, you can't unsee it.
You can never unsee it. You can never unsee it. Yep. And so, one of the biggest things that I learned from my own mistakes in art and even other people's is just better anatomy practices in general. And from that comes better character design in general.
Well, I also think if you do pay more attention to anatomy, your mistakes are less visible.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're hidden by it, the overall production looks right.
Yep. And that's the thing, is that there are some things that, aren't right. Like I'm not going to point any of them out on this page. But there are some things that I'll spend hours and hours and hours fighting with, and then I'm like, you know what? I realize that I just drew this at the slightly wrong angle, and in order to fix it, I have to completely redraw this character, and so I'm not going to, and it's just going to look slightly wrong. But art is sometimes more about aesthetics than realism.
And Bard could spend 4 weeks on a single page.
I could.
But that doesn't serve anybody.
Yep.
It doesn't get the content out to you guys who want to see it. and it doesn't help us move along on our project.
Yep. And this is especially true coming from him, because there have been pieces that I drew for this campaign or others that months.
Yeah, definitely.
That one that's the background on your phone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous.
But months for a single image is not what anyone wants. It's not the time frame anybody wants. So
It's you do that on showcase pieces for sure.
yeah.
Like that's gonna go in Bard's portfolio.
Oh, sorry. Go stretch. Yeah, but so there are some things that like with Mimi's wings, they're pretty detailed in these shots because she's in the foreground of these pages, because her dialogue is what kicks off basically the whole page. But as a general rule, they're not going to be this detailed because they frankly don't need to be. And when you have that many tiny lines in something, especially if she's going to be further back, like say Nerida is in this panel, it's just unwise composition practices to put all those there, because they become a blurry blob of detail that is completely wasted.
And distracts from other characters.
Yeah. And so generally speaking, she's not going to get that much detail work, which is good for me. But hang on, how many? She has 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. It's the fourth one that starts. Sorry. And, sometimes I lost my train of thought because I was thinking about Nerida's abs. My bad, guys.
Well, they are a washboard.
They are.
Laundry on 'em.
You could wash laundry on those abs.
I think it's one of Cheshire's favorite things to say.
Yes. I mean, once they get quite a bit more comfortable with Nerida as a human, as a person, who they're not 100% sure that any of these people aren't just going to crush their head immediately. And that's fair, because almost any one of these people could crush their head like a freaking sparrow egg. I mean, look at the size of Lowen's arm next to Cheshire.
He's a big boy.
He is, and he's not anywhere near as friendly as Gigi. But yeah, so Cheshire has a lot of social hurdles to overcome for sure. But then once they do, they're a bard. That's all I can say.
All right, we're hitting our last 10 minutes. If anyone has a question about anything they'd like to ask, now would be the time.
Yeah.
And it's okay if nobody does, but I just wanted to bring that up, that if there's a question about anything about the whole project, now is a great time to ask it, and we'll answer 1 or 2 questions at the end of, we'll try to do that at the end of every stream.
Yeah.
Just be like, we'll take a question now.
I mean, okay, now I need to massively... No, that's the wrong... No, okay, here we go.
I've often told Bard that I'm jealous of her undo button. I paint miniatures.
I too am jealous of my undo button.
I would kill for an undo button.
Yes.
On the miniatures that I paint.
I'd kill for an undo button on traditional art.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm so spoiled that I people have witnessed me do this. If I'm drawing something small on a piece of paper, I'll go to like pinch zoom and just suddenly realize, oh, that doesn't work because this is paper. Or I'll reach up to hit my undo button and I'm like, oh, there's no keyboard here. This is paper. It's the worst feeling. I mean, it's not the worst feeling in the world. That's.
It definitely makes you feel a little silly.
Yeah. It's like the first day I ever worked at GameStop. I went in and I went to clock in, and they had monitors that had these big buttons laid out on them that looked like they should be touchscreen. Right. Okay. So I just went and touched the clock in, and I didn't live that down for weeks. And I didn't know,
Because it was your first time.
because it was my first day, that GameStop was never going to shell out for modern technology, and that the
Right.
monitors we were using were from the 90s.
Well,
But everybody who was working there were old neckbeards, and they were like, lol.
Yeah.
Like, this company cares enough about us to give us touch screens.
right? I mean, it's ridiculous though, especially the clocking in thing. Like, I worked down in a prison in Mexico, and everyone lined up at this computer, this ancient. I swear it was a Windows 95 computer.
Oh, it probably was.
And to clock in, and so I got in the line, and when I got up there, I couldn't clock in, and they were like, "You're new. You gotta sign in the book," and they threw down.
Oh my god!
Dusty tome, and open it up, and I had to sign my name in this old tome, and they were like, "You're new. You don't get to. You don't have a login."
Okay, you know what? But that was Mexico.
That was Mexico.
This is
Fair enough,
GameStop.
fair enough.
They're in their company
A multi-million-dollar company.
a Fortune 500 company. Well, I mean they were. Lol.
probably not.
They're not anymore, and that brings me great joy. But so they're a Fortune 500 company in the technology industry.
And they should have touchscreen
And
logins. Yeah.
our printers were older than me.
This might be why they're no longer what they were.
Yes, because they were at the height of things when they were EB Games, which was when all that technology was new, and then they just decided to not update it. Welcome to the shitting on GameStop stream. That's
That's what we've devolved into.
Yep.
But if you notice something, I wanted to remark that Bar drew Nerida much larger and then shrunk her to put her in the background. Is a cool little trick that she did, and that was made possible because we upped the size of our canvas.
Yeah.
Which, when she was like, "Can we make the canvas bigger so that I can do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's investigate," because that's a cool little trick digital art has that I thought was neat to mention.
Yep. And it turned out that our canvases that I was working on were already like 1/100th of the website's limit for upload sizes.
Yes, and now they are 1/50th of the
Woohoo!
size.
So yeah, if you have problems viewing things on the mobile, it might be because of the size, but you can always open the full size page too, because they'll generally be much larger than they were on the page that they come up on. I'm talking is hard.
Words.
Words. I'm a terrible bard, actually.
Are you not an orator like Cordelia?
No.
It's okay. None of us. There really aren't any orators anymore.
Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay has perform oratory. He just screams at you and then you're better at cooking. That's inspire competence.
It is.
It's
really
perform
is.
oratory. Oh goodness. But you're right, there's still not many.
No. There hasn't been a Marcus Aurelius in a long time. Our presidents try, but they give their State of the Union speeches.
I'm not gonna. No comments on the presidency.
Indeed. I just meant more their speeches, not
Yeah.
comment on.
Well, because it's like.
It's a lost art.
Yeah.
You tweet now.
No comments on the current presidency.
Anyway, Nerida is great. She's
Thanks.
A real cool priest.
Yes. And I have a lot of fun with Nerida because I think that Nerida is the bee's knees and super, super attractive. But also she's basically a square, as you probably saw me building her from a square.
Big lady.
Because she's a big lady, and I love that she is this big, powerful lady who could crush any of us with one arm, and yet she still has like a touch of traditional femininity, but also just doesn't need it because she hot though. And she's rad, and one of the more powerful characters in the cast, I think, pretty much for all,
It's still
like,
even
forever. Yeah.
A series of good character decisions and luck has led her to always be about a level higher than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't hurt that she listened to me when I was like, let's make some... So we started this on 3.5, and prestige classes are a thing. I don't know if that's part of the cool kid kit these days. But anyway, I told everyone, hey, I'll help you make a custom fit prestige class for your character if you want to. And the characters that listened tend to be a little more powerful than the ones that don't.
Yeah.
And I won't say who that is and who isn't, but Nerida's definitely one of them.
Yes. Nerida's just... Nerida's rad. And I gotta figure out where these rocks are gonna stop. Because it should be, in this panel, it should be the second rock that we're seeing. So it should be... I should have plenty of space because it should be like right.
We're gonna wrap up here.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, and thanks to anyone that watches this.
Lowen is everyone's favorite character. I see.
Yeah, Ian has strong opinions, but thanks to everyone who's watched while we were live and anyone that watches after. We really appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Check out our other social media on...
We're on Twitter. You can find us at Threads of Fate 42, and you can find me at ThreadsArtBard. And then we're on Instagram, I believe, at Threads of Fate 42.
And
of course,
on Facebook.
Yes, and Patreon. We're on Patreon
and
too.
Patreon. Patreon is our.
That's the, most direct way to support us.
Yes,
and
we have a
we super
PayPal
appreciate
that
those
can
guys.
be donated to, but we love to make things and send them out to you guys. And our Patreon is definitely about that. We make button pins and send them out, and a few other things. But thanks, guys. We love you. We'll see you next time. So now you just have to hit
yes
on YouTube first.
Well, I said bye, and then okay, bye. There we go.